Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 14th of September 2023. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to cover all those topics that are important for the UPSC prelims and mains exam. And along with this, we are also going to cover some questions for the prelims exam and also for the mains exam. So let us quickly look into those topics that are important from the newspaper. Okay. So these are the list of articles that are important, right, that we are going to cover. Apart from this, we are going to cover these many articles. Okay. So in all, we are going to discuss about 11 articles. So the first article, this article, it says the complex path to biofuel sustainability. Okay. So why this article came? This article has some of the references. One of the important thing is, like, during the G20 summit, we have launched Global Biofuel Alliance. Okay. So with reference to that, this article has been written. So in this article, the author has talked about biofuels. The author has compared biofuels with fossil fuels, and also author has discussed about different generations of biofuels, right? And author has given some suggestions related to biofuels. So this topic becomes important for the mains exam, and also here they have talked about some of the reports that are launched by some organizations. So let us discuss about these things one by one. So name of the topic is the complex path to biofuel sustainability. The complex path to biofuel sustainability. So let's understand about what do we mean by biofuel. Okay. So first thing that we need to understand is, we need to understand what is biofuel. Okay. So when we talk about biofuel, biofuel are those fuels that are derived from biological materials, from, let's say, food grains. Okay. Generally in India, when we talk about biofuels, we generally refer to first generation of biofuels. Okay. So the fuels that are derived from the food stock. Okay. Means, like, food related items. For example, in India, we talk about the first generation, okay, biofuel. So what do we mean by first generation biofuel? These are those biofuels that are directly derived from the let's say, like, food resources. For example, the biofuels that are derived from sugar cane, okay, they are biofuel. Or let's say, like, some other food stuffs, okay, biofuels that are derived from other food stuffs. So they are first generation biofuel. And in India, we do have a policy. Okay. In that policy, like, that policy is known as ethanol blended petrol. Okay. We have a policy of having ethanol blended petrol. So we want to achieve 20% ethanol blended petrol by the year 2025-26. Okay, by the year 2025-26, we want to achieve 20% ethanol blended petrol. Okay. Why ethanol blended petrol? In ethanol blended petrol, I mean, like, petrol, like, we are going to add 20% ethanol to petrol. So it will reduce the amount of fossil fuel and it will add component of biofuels into it. So in India, we already have a policy which is, let's say, supporting the usage of biofuels in India. So this policy is existing. Okay, this policy is existing. It is means, like, we want to achieve, right, 20% ethanol blending, and this 20% ethanol blending will come from first generation of biofuels. Okay, it will come from first generation of biofuel. However, in this article, the author has talked about that there are certain problems related to biofuels. What are the problems that we face? What are the issues that we face related to biofuels? So they are also mentioned in this article. Okay, so in this article, they have mentioned three different issues, three different problems that we faced. Okay, one of the problem, it says that India's crop yields have already stagnated. Okay, it says that, like, these biofuels are derived from, let's say, like, crops, like food crops and all. So the first issue it says that India's crop productivity, okay, so it says India's crop productivity has already stagnated, okay, it has already stagnated, means like it has reached its peak. And the thing is the global climate change is happening, and because of climate change it is expected that the productivity in the same field will further decrease. So what is happening in India? I mean the first issue that we are facing in India is day by day we are having lesser amount of, let's say, fields where we are going to grow the food crops, okay. So the area, total arable area is reducing. Second issue that we are facing is, let's say, climate change is aggravating, okay, climate change is happening, and because of that thing the productivity of crops is going to go down, okay, productivity is going to decrease, okay, productivity is going to decrease. Third thing, it says that population is also increasing in India, means population increasing, means India's crop productivity has already reached a level, and after reaching that level we are facing these issues, means day by day the area where we do let's say agriculture activity, it is going down. Apart from this, climate change is happening, because of which we can see in future that there will be less productivity in the same amount of, let's say, field, okay. So if it is earlier yielding, let's say, 1.5 ton, now it may yield 1 ton or maybe little lesser than that. And also population is increasing. So the thing is if we rely heavily on fossil fuels, so this will be one of the problem that we are going to face, okay. So this is one problem. The second issue that the author has suggested in this article is that a recent study led by the University of Michigan projected that rates of groundwater depletion could triple during 2040 to 81, okay. So it says that from 2041 to 2040 to 2081, what will happen? The groundwater, okay, depletion, okay, groundwater depletion will become 3 times, okay, it will become 3 times, means it's going to triple. So this is another problem, means we cannot heavily rely on let's say biofuels, okay, that's the thing. And third issue that the author says, okay, this is a very interesting issue. It says the agriculture sector is one of the hardest to abate in terms of direct greenhouse gas emissions, okay. So third issue, it says that from agriculture sector, okay, agriculture sector is already doing greenhouse gas emission, okay, agriculture sector is already doing greenhouse gas emission, means if we produce food crops, it is doing greenhouse gas emission, it is having greenhouse gas emission. And recently there was a report also that has been published, not only by Michigan University but by other sources. So they say it is one of the largest source of producing, right, greenhouse gas. But what we are doing, we are, let's say using the productivity, the crop that are produced by agriculture sector, and we are blending this particular thing with petrol, okay, we are blending it with petrol, means we are doing ethanol blended petrol and all. Why we are doing this? Because we want to reduce greenhouse gas, okay. But the thing is production of agricultural thing already emits greenhouse gas, and if we use this for blending petrol, so is this dynamic going to balance, or whether we are going to have any net, let's say, benefit in terms of reducing the greenhouse gas? So this is still doubtable, okay. So the author is saying that this is doubtful, okay, this is a doubtful thing, that agricultural sector which already emits greenhouse gases, using the produced food crops to produce biofuel, okay, to produce what? biofuel. So whether it is going to have any net benefit or not, so that is doubtful, because we need to see some reports that may be published. So these are the issues that the author has highlighted related to this. And however, in this article the author says that the government of India along with many other countries in G20 summit, what we have launched Global Biofuel Alliance. Okay, we have launched Global Biofuel Alliance. However, this Global Biofuel Alliance, whether it is going to be beneficial for the world at large, needs to be seen. For the time being, the author has applauded this thing. Applauded means author has said that it is a good initiative. Okay, it is a good initiative. However, we need to see what kind of let's say first generation or second generation biofuel needs to be used. So it will be seen in the future to come. However, author says it's a good initiative. So finally the author says that there is a commission which is known as Energy Transitions Commission. Okay, so this Energy Transition Commission has released a report. Okay, Energy Transition Commission. Okay, Energy Transition Commission. What is the name of the report that it has released? It has released a report, and name of the report is Bioresources within a net zero emissions economy. So what is net zero emission? Basically, like different countries across the world, they have adopted a target that by the year 2050 we want to achieve net zero emission. Means whatever carbon, whatever greenhouse gases we are emitting, we will be, let's say, sinking equal amount of greenhouse gases, so that we are net zero emitters of greenhouse gases. Sinking means there are different methods of, let's say, doing sinking the thing. So yeah, means taking away the greenhouse gases from the environment. Okay, so there are multiple methods. So different countries have adopted this particular thing, and India has adopted this particular target to be achieved by 2070. Okay, by the year 2070 we want to achieve this target. So in this article the author finally says that any strategy needs to be carefully examined in the context of the larger ecosystem to avoid negative consequences. Okay, so author is warning that any change that we want to achieve, right, so we need to assess it properly, so that to avoid any negative consequences related to this. So with this, let us move to the next topic, and we have a question. This question says, what are biofuels and how do they differ from fossil fuels? Okay, so they are asking what are biofuels, how do they differ from fossil fuels in terms of sustainability, how can we ensure that the growth of biofuel industry aligns with the sustainability goals and does not harm the environment or communities. Okay, we need to explain this thing. You need to write an answer to this question in 250 words. After writing, you can share your answer copy with me at Jahidul@lukmaanias.com. So this is the email address where you can share your answers, right, after writing. So with this, we will move to the next topic. This topic is again important. It says protecting floodplains is the need of the hour. Okay, so in this article we are going to understand about what are floodplains. Okay, first of all we will understand what are floodplains and why the author is talking about protecting floodplains. Okay, and also in this article we are going to talk about a report that is released, which is this report is released by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Okay, so we are going to discuss about what are floodplains, why the author is talking about floodplains, and how, it is associated with many other things. Okay, so we are going to discuss this particular thing. This is a good topic. This is also again from Environment and Ecology. Name of the topic is, okay, Protecting floodplains is the need of the hour. Protecting floodplains is the need of the hour. Okay, protecting floodplains is the need of the hour. So let's understand about what is floodplains. Basically, let's say this is river. Okay, let's say this is river. So river, I mean, like, besides the bank of the river, okay, besides the bank of the river, there should be some area, okay, there should be some area where if the river water increases, so that water can go easily to this particular area, okay, that water can reach to this area. So like, it talks about the need of having river bank, the need of having, let's say, additional area right outside the river main channel, outside the river main channel. But nowadays what has happened, people have started doing construction activities, and these construction activities, I mean, like, so while doing construction activities, people have encroached upon the floodplains, okay, they have encroached upon the floodplains like this. So that's why if a flood comes, so that flood is actually also devastating these areas, okay, it is also devastating. And this phenomena has been seen in the hilly states, okay, hilly states. For example, in this article, the author has talked about Uttarakhand, okay, author has talked about Uttarakhand, author has taken the example of Uttarakhand, that, flood activity has happened in the state of Uttarakhand also. And recently what has happened, the World Health Organization has stated that floods are increasing in frequency and intensity, and the frequency and intensity of extreme precipitation is expected to continue to increase due to climate change, okay. So author says the World Health Organization has talked about extreme what? Extreme precipitation or let's say flood, it will lead to flood. Then there are means extreme climatic conditions or extreme drought also are happening in different areas. So World Health Organization has warned against it, but the thing is, like, people are not taking proper steps related to it, okay. So in this article, the author has said that, like, severity and frequency of flood has especially affected our cities, okay. And also in this article, author has talked about many examples of those floods, okay. Like, what are examples of those floods? One of the example is, let's say, 2013 flood in Uttarakhand, 2014 floods in Kashmir Valley, 2015 floods in Chennai, 2017 floods in Gujarat. All caused loss of lives and livelihoods and massive damage to the infrastructure. So these are the floods that has happened, and so that's why the author says that, like, the kind of strategy that we are following in India. In India, we are following a strategy of protection, right? Of protection of infrastructure from the floods. And for that, what we do, like, we create we create embankments, okay, we create embankments on the river side. Here, like, let's say we create a wall like structure, okay. So this is we are doing. However, the author says, like, this strategy is not going to work for the long time, and the author is highlighting that, like, there are many countries across the world who have adopted a different strategy for altogether for themselves. These include Germany, UK and Netherlands, okay. So countries like Germany, United Kingdom and Netherlands, what they have done, they have adopted a different strategy which is known as flood management and protection, okay. So a flood risk management as opposed to protection. So they have adopted flood risk management strategy. They have adopted flood risk management. So how it is different from the protection strategy that we follow? In protection, what we do not take care of like where the water will go. We just create embankments, right? But here they also think of, let's say, like, if the river water increases, so how we can divert that water, right? And how that water will be diverted, how that water will be, let's say, like, addressed, that issue will be addressed. So like, they address the problem at the core itself. But what we do, like, we do not look at the core issue. We just see, like, if it happens, how we can protect ourselves. Okay, so that's the thing. So the author says that, like, we need to preserve, okay, we need to preserve our ecosystem, and for that purpose, like, floodplains are an important part. Okay, floodplains should be addressed. And here the author talks about that, like, many laws have been made in India. Different state governments have also come up with their own let's say, like, laws. However, those laws are not strictly followed in India. We make laws, but these laws remain in the books. I mean, like, they are not being followed in practice. So we need to enforce those laws also to reduce the, let's say, like, impact of floods, right, on lives. That's the thing. So finally the author says that illegal construction work in floodplains reduces the capacity of rivers to contain high level of water within their banks. Okay, so this is the thing. So good evening, Shubham. Thank you so much for joining. So that's the thing. So in this article, we have understood about importance of floodplains. And this author, the same author, he has earlier written an article. That article was related to global stocktake. Okay, means he has talked about a stocktake before global stocktake, like that. That article was there, but like today, there is a topic from global stocktake also. We are going to understand why it is important. And that thing is very, very important for the UPSC mains exam. So let's understand about this topic. It says analyzing the global stocktake report. So the previous article that we have read, the same author has earlier written an article related to this topic. Okay. So in this article, we are going to discuss about analyzing the global stocktake report. So through this article, we will talk about Paris Climate Agreement. We will talk like why Paris Climate Agreement is important, how Paris Climate Agreement is related to global stocktake report, and also we will discuss about why this global stocktake report is important, right? Why we are reading about this particular thing. So let's discuss about this. Name of the topic is Analyzing the global stocktake report. Okay. Analyzing the global stocktake report. This is very important topic from the perspective of GS paper 3 under environment and ecology. Okay, it is important for environment and ecology. So this is important. Let us understand about what is global stocktake report. We will also learn which organization releases this report. We will understand what is the objective of this particular report. We will understand that how it is connected with the Paris Climate Agreement. Okay, so before learning about all of it, let us understand about Paris Agreement. Okay, Paris Climate Agreement. So let's discuss about. In short, it is also known as Paris Agreement. Okay, Paris Climate Agreement. So as we all know that Paris Climate Agreement was adopted in the year of 2015. It has been adopted by 196 countries. Okay, it has been adopted by 196 countries across the world. Okay, and this particular Paris Climate Agreement is a legally binding agreement. Okay, it is a legally binding agreement on the member countries. So far we have understood that, like, it has been adopted in the year of 2015. 196 countries have accepted this agreement. They have joined this agreement, and it is a legally binding international agreement. Okay, it is a legally binding agreement, and this is related to this is like, what is the objective of this agreement? Means like we have discussed about that it is this agreement and that agreement. Now we are going to understand about what is the objective of this agreement. Okay, what is the objective? This is a very important note that I'm going to write. Okay, the objective is to reduce the global greenhouse gas emissions. Why? Because we want to limit the global temperature rise. Okay, so the objective is to limit global temperature rise. Okay, global temperature rise well below, okay, well below 2 degrees centigrade, well below 2 degrees centigrade, and also to the extent possible, okay, to the extent possible, we want to limit it to, okay, we want to limit it well below 1.5 degrees centigrade before 2100, and we are talking about increase in global temperature. So there should be a basic time frame also with which we are going to compare it. So we are going to compare it with the pre-industrial level, okay, pre-industrial level, okay, as compared to pre-industrial level. That's the thing. Means, let's say during 1750s or let's say during 1800s, when industrialization started, so what was the temperature at that point of time? Okay, now so with reference to that temperature, we want to make it, let's say, temperature plus 1.5 degrees centigrade, and by what time period? By 2100. Means like, we don't want to get this temperature increased beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade as compared to the pre-industrial level across the world. So this is the objective of the Paris Agreement. So this objective has been, let's say, accepted by 196 countries, and this is the only internationally legally binding agreement related to climate change. So that's why it is very important. So which organization, let's say, like, is associated with the Paris climate change? This is Conference of Parties. This is UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay, like that. So this organization is associated with this. Now we have, let's say, understood about the Paris Agreement. Now we need to understand how do we enforce the Paris Agreement, like, what is the mechanism. So the mechanism related to this Paris Agreement is that all the countries who have adopted this agreement, so these countries, okay, these countries, what they do, these countries basically release their intended nationally determined contribution. Okay, what they release intended nationally determined contributions, nationally determined contributions. What do we mean by this? It means all the state parties who are parties to the Paris Climate Agreement, so they declare in advance that, like, this year we want to achieve this target related to climate change, that, like, we want to move towards, let's say, like, greener sources of energy. We want to adopt solar energy, we want to adopt hydroelectricity, and by adopting those things, like, to what extent we are going to reduce the climate change. We are also going to, let's say, adopt the nuclear power. Okay, nuclear power. So this is considered to be more cleaner as compared to fossil fuel based, let's say, electricity generation stations. For example, the coal based thermal power plants, so they release huge amount of carbon dioxide. However, the what we say, nuclear power plants, they will be greener sources of energy. It's going to release very less amount of carbon dioxide. So that's the thing. This is known as intended nationally determined contribution. So each state party, let's say like, like tells in advance that what they want to do, and they work in that particular regard. So this is one way how to achieve this particular thing. Other way is like, other way is that countries contribute to one another. Countries assist one another. How they assist in one another? One thing is by giving finance, okay, financing. For example, a developed country that has already developed by following certain routes that has caused the global temperature to increase. So that country has historical responsibility. So that country has the responsibility of helping other countries to adopt alternate sources of energy, to go for alternative technologies, okay. So for that purpose, they do financing. And other thing is like, they also support those countries in developing the know-how, okay. So like countries help one another in achieving this thing. Now we have understood about Paris Climate Agreement. After this comes global stocktake, okay, global stocktake report. So how global stocktake report is associated with this Paris Climate Agreement? Basically, global stocktake report, so they release this report once every 5 years. Why? They like through this report they check like what portion of the, let's say, targets that the countries have adopted, how it is being met. I mean, like, this report is an assessment of the Paris Agreement, okay. It is an assessment of the objectives that are achieved by different countries under Paris Agreement. So this is how this global stocktake report is associated with this. So recently this particular report that has been released, it has 17 what we say, like 17 paragraphs, okay. It has 17 paragraphs. So it is a 45-page document, okay. It is a 45 or 47-page document. And this document, they have said that like, majorly the countries are not on the path of achieving the climate target, okay. It says that majorly, like most of the countries are not on path of achieving the climate targets that they have taken. It means the Paris Agreement is not functioning the way that they intended initially, okay. So this is the, I mean, like global stocktake report, okay. So this is associated, this is directly connected with the Paris Agreement, okay. So it says the 45-page report lays out 17 key findings, okay. It lays out what 17 key findings that overall suggest that the world is not on track to achieve Paris Agreement targets. Though there was still a rapidly narrowing window for the countries to get their act together. Means like now we have very less amount of time to, let's say, like, work together to achieve the target. Now it is very less, I mean, like very less opportunities available. Second, 17 headlines statements say that governments need to support ways to transform their economies away from fossil fuel businesses, and that states and communities must strengthen effort. And also it talks about Delhi Declaration. So the Delhi Declaration for the first time formally recognizes massive jump in finance necessary for the world to transition to renewable energy economy. So the, like, New Delhi Leaders Declaration that we have seen, in that declaration they have also talked about that there should be more finance for those countries that are developing so that they can adopt non-fossil fuel based energy sources, okay. So that's how it is connected, okay. I hope like it is clear, this topic. So with this we will solve a question related to this. It says, with reference to global stocktake report, consider the following statements. They have given 3 statements. We are going to solve these statements one by one. Now, it is released by the United Nations Environment Programme. This is released by UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Global Stocktake report is released by UNFCCC, not by this thing. Second, it is designed to assess the global response to climate crisis every 5 years. This is right. Third, it evaluates global efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emission and keep global temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius and ideally 1.5 degrees Celsius as compared to the pre-industrial level, okay. So that sentence is not completely written, but it is understood. So as compared to the pre-industrial level. So that is also right. So how many of the above statements are correct? Only 2. Okay, correct answer would be option B. So with this, we will move to the next topic. Explanation is given here. You can go through it in your free time. So we have mentioned about what is global Stocktake report, and we have mentioned about key findings of this particular report also. Now we have another topic. This topic is again important. It says the deadliest and strongest earthquakes in recorded history. Okay, deadliest and strongest earthquakes. So basically in this article they have referred to the recent earthquake that has happened. So there was a 6.8 magnitude. Okay, there was 6.8 magnitude earthquake. Where? 6.8 magnitude earthquake in Morocco and Marrakesh. Okay, so that's the thing. So it has killed around 2,900 people. Okay, 2,900 people died because of that particular earthquake. So it is a massive earthquake in the recent time. Okay, now in this article they have talked about historically what has been the strongest earthquake ever on the surface of the earth. So they talk about, let's say, like, they compare this particular data since 2150 BC. Now if we know the time scale, okay, if we know about historical time scale, let's talk about our time scale now. Okay, time scale means the calendar. Okay, so basically let's say this is the time scale 1 AD. Where we are now? We are in 2023 AD. AD means Anno Domini. Anno Domini means in the year of Lord, since the Jesus Christ was born. After Jesus Christ was born, we have, let's say, 2023 years now. If we go back, so we will be going to BC, okay, means before Christ. So let's say, like, minus 1 BC, minus 2 BC, like that. So in this article they talk about minus 2000. Okay, what? Minus 2150 BC. Okay, minus 2150 BC, before Christ. So this BC and this AD, it is talking about around 4170 years. Okay, overall the data that they take is 4173 years. Means in these many years, what was the largest earthquake that we have witnessed on the surface of the earth so far? Okay, so this article talks about that thing. This article talks about what has been the major earthquakes. So it says the Bhuj earthquake was the deadliest in India. Okay, in India it was Bhuj earthquake, while 1941 quake in Andaman and 1897 quake in Assam were the strongest. So in India, these are the earthquakes that have been the strongest: Bhuj, then Andaman and Assam. However, if we talk about world at large, so here, like, for example, in Haiti, so Haiti is, let's say, a Caribbean island location, so it is there. So 3.16 lakh people have died in Haiti in 2010, very recently. Okay, then apart from this, if we talk about China, in 1976, 2.42 lakh people have died because of earthquakes. So these are the deadliest earthquakes on the surface of the earth. Okay, so in Haiti, in China again there is other places, which is Gansu and Shaanxi. In 1920, 2 lakh people died. In Turkmenistan, 1.1 lakh people died. In Japan, Tokyo, 1.43 lakh people died. So this talks about the number of people who have died because of earthquake. Okay, in Japan in 1923, 1.43 lakh people died, and recent earthquake that has happened here, so that 2,900 people died, huge number of people, and here lakhs of people have died. Okay, so they were one of the major earthquakes in recorded history. So they have mentioned the location, they have mentioned the year, and they have mentioned the death. In China, in Jiangxi, 8.3 lakh people had died in one earthquake. Okay, so that's the thing. Now, so these were the deadliest earthquakes that have caused huge damages to the property, and like that has caused human lives, huge number of human lives. And on the second map, okay, in the first map that talks about how many people died because of earthquake. In the second map, they talk about like what was the strongest earthquake, strongest magnitude earthquake. So that is, let's say 9.5 in Chile in 1960, in Alaska 9.2, Chile 9.1, like that, okay. So for measuring these earthquakes, so they use a different scale. Generally we have heard about Mercalli scale, Richter scale and all, but here, like, you know, these data are compiled by an agency of the United States of America, and name of the agency is National Center for Environmental Information, okay, National Center for Environmental Information. So this particular center has recorded the history, right, on the planet Earth, okay, the deadliest earthquakes and also highest intensity earthquake. And so they use a scale which is known as moment magnitude scale, okay, they use a scale which is known as moment magnitude scale. Every country follows a different scale to, let's say, like, you know, calculate this. However, when we read geography, we talk about Mercalli scale and Richter scale itself. But like, this is also important that you remember this scale, moment magnitude scale. So this is related to measuring the magnitude of the earthquake, okay, that's the thing. So in this article, this is all. I mean, like, we will not go
like this organization, National Center for Environmental Information, so like how they have gathered so much of data in the times before Christ.
Basically, like, you know, they have studied the geology of the surface of the earth. After studying the geology of the surface of the earth, we see some kind of craters, we see some, let's say, like, you know, deformation on the surface of the earth. That is one method. And also they have studied about the, let's say, convection of the magma that happens. Let's say, like, if we talk about the earth, so earth has crust, then, like, you know, we have mantle, we have core and all. So there is, let's say, movement of magma that happens. So they study that thing also, okay. And earthquake happens because of many reasons. Because of plate tectonic, it happens. Plate tectonic is also one of the reason, okay. So when plates collide with one another, that leads to massive earthquake, or if they break down, that also leads to massive earthquake. So the thing is, the plates have changed in shape like over the years. If you read 11th standard geography, you will understand about these things, okay, means like, so that's the thing. So now let's talk about this question. It says, consider the following: mental convection currents, volcanic eruptions, geological faults, asteroids, ridge push, okay. It says how many of the above factors are responsible for the earthquake. All the 5 factors, all of them are responsible for the earthquake, okay. So any one of these terms that you don't understand? Asteroids. So basically, I mean, like, if they impact, asteroids means, like, you know, those objects that are coming from outer space, if they impact the surface of the earth, they cause earth to tremor, okay, because there are plates, okay, it causes them to tremor, so that leads to earthquake. So the place where they fall, it impacts generally that place, and also it impacts the other areas also. That is the thing. And ridge push means, like, we have heard about this particular thing, continental drift theory, like that, okay. So for example, let's say from this area volcanic eruption is happening, okay, let's say volcanic eruption, or let's say, like, you know, in the plate tectonics, from let's say from the mantle, some material is rising up, so it leads to these boundaries, okay. So these are known as ridges, okay. So these ridges are pulled away, okay, as it is rising, so they are pushed away, so that is known as ridge push, okay. So this is like this we understand when we read about geomorphology, okay, when we read geomorphology. So there in plate tectonics theory we understand about these things, okay. So that's the thing. So all the 5 are related to this, okay. So with this, let us talk about another topic. This topic is again important. the birth and abrogation of Article 370, the reality of Kashmir's special status. Okay, so now why this article is important? Because now the Supreme Court of India has heard from the petitioners related to abrogation of Article 370, and also it has received submissions from the central government related to this. Now the thing is, the central government, I mean, like, you know, the Supreme Court of India has reserved its judgment. Now it has to release its judgment. It has to, let's say, like, give judgment at a later date. Meanwhile, this article actually does a review of 3 books, right, in that regard. Which books? So one of the book is this one. The second book is this one. And the third book is this one. Okay. So basically, this article is related to abrogation of Article 370. Article 370 is related to the special status of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, earlier state of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, that's the thing. So what are these 3 books? One of the book is known as A Modern History of Jammu and Kashmir, the Troubled Years of Maharaja Hari Singh, 1925 to 1949. So this particular book actually has been written by Harbans Singh. So this person has not only written about this particular period, but in this book that person has talked about from the birth of Maharaja Hari Singh till his entire life. So in this book he has talked about, like, you know, the events, courses that has happened with Maharaja Hari Singh from his birth to this date. So in 1925 basically he was, let's say, like, you know, he was staying in Bombay somewhere. So in 1925 he has come to the throne. He became the prince, okay, means, like, you know, Maharaja of where? He has become Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, okay, and after then he has ruled till let's say 1949, okay, like that. So during this period of time he has taken decision related to, let's say, like, you know, adding Jammu and Kashmir to the dominion of India. So that's the thing. So in this book he traces the history of Maharaja Hari Singh and also what events or consequences had led to the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India. And also in this article he has talked about those 3 things, okay, means that were given to the Union of India. The what? Defense, communication and external affairs, like that. Okay, so these 3 things were given. So in this book he has written these things. The second book was written by A.G. Nurani. Okay, name of the book is Article 370, A Constitutional History of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so this book actually, you know, talks about from the period of 1946 to 2010. It talks about that, like, you know, during the constitutional time, I mean, like, you know, when the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir was created, Constitution of India was created, how Article 370 became a part of the Constitution of India and all. So all of these things have been mentioned in this article. That's the thing, in this book. And the third book, name of the third book is after 2019, the name of the book is Jammu and Kashmir, A Dismantled State, the Untold Story of Kashmir After Article 370. This is name of the book, Untold Story, A Dismantled State, the Untold Story of Kashmir After Article 370. So in this book, the author, like, this is a third author, okay. So in this book, Anuradha Bhasin, okay, she has written this book. She has talked about after the abrogation of Article 370, what changes has happened in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So she has talked about, let's say, like, you know, the sentiments of different sections of people from the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so she has written everything, like many things related to this. So these 3 books actually traces from the beginning till the end of the special status of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so in this book, like, you know, they have mentioned these things. So the 3 subjects are defense, foreign affairs and communication. Okay, that's the thing. So that's all in this article. Okay, I hope like it is understood. So now let us quickly go through it. No Article 370, what changes in Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so the thing is, like, special power exercised by Jammu and Kashmir, it was earlier, but now no special power. Earlier dual citizenship kind of concept was there, now single citizenship. Earlier separate flag for Jammu and Kashmir, now only one flag of India. Then state in charge of policing. Now center provides policing, because like we have created it union territory. Okay, so after union territory is created, so police comes under the central government. Then Article 360, financial emergency not applicable earlier, but now it is applicable. No reservation for minorities. Earlier, like, for minorities and other people, I mean, like, so no reservation was given. Now minorities will be eligible for reservation. So that's why we have recently seen 3 bills. In one day, we discussed about 3 bills that the government of India introduced for Jammu and Kashmir, reservation related, okay, Pahadia people and other people. Then Indian citizens from other states cannot buy land and property. This was the earlier case. Now people from other states will now be able to purchase land or property in Jammu and Kashmir. Yeah, 35A, that has also been abrogated because their constitution is not now functional. That's the thing. RTI not applicable. Now RTI will be applicable. Duration of legislative assembly for 6 years. Now assembly duration of union territory will be 5 years. So this is the thing. Okay. So Jammu and Kashmir will be having a state legislative assembly. Ladakh will not be having it. Okay. So that's the thing. So in this article, they have just, let's say, like, mentioned these things. Now we have another topic. It says transfer the personal data under UN treaty will be under domestic laws. Okay. This topic is important. Why it is important? Because of okay. Now let us understand about this particular topic. Basically, the United Nations organization is creating, they are ratifying a kind of treaty, and that treaty is related to cybercrime. Okay, that treaty is related to cybercrime. Okay, so which organization is doing it? It is being done by the United Nations Cybercrime Convention. Okay, United Nations Cyber, so they are doing this particular thing, United Nations Cybercrime Convention. So they are working on a treaty, and that particular treaty will be ratified at the UN General Assembly 2024, right? And India is participating in the discussions that are happening. And in that treaty, they have mentioned one specific thing. They have mentioned that ad hoc committees to elaborate a comprehensive international convention on countering the use of information and communication technologies for criminal purposes. Okay, so this is the thing. And they have also mentioned that the state parties will establish multilateral arrangement to transfer the personal data. And India is against this particular thing. India says that transfer of personal data from a country can happen to other country, but India is going to follow its own national laws. What national law do we have in India? We have the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, DPDP Act, okay, Digital Personal Data Protection Act. And we have recently, let's say, like, enacted this particular act. And this act deals with the personal data in a different manner, okay. Means like for lawful purposes, the government of India can take personal data. And so government of India has, let's say, mentioned this particular thing to that committee, that we are going to follow our own domestic laws for sharing or transferring of data. Okay, we are not directly going to follow the laws that you are drafting. So like so we are suggesting that you draft in a manner so that like it is consistent with the domestic laws of the states. Okay, so this is related to that thing. Okay, so this cybercrime related thing is very important because a lot of cybercrime incidents are happening. Recently also, that day we discussed, emails have been hacked, email of US officials have been hacked. Now this is another article, this is related to health. This article is good. It says President launches Ayushman Bhav health campaign. Okay, Ayushman Bhav health campaign has been launched by the President. So what is this campaign all about? This campaign aims to deliver healthcare services to the last mile and consolidate access and affordability for underserved population. Okay, so this health campaign will help accessing health facilities for the underserved population, means like those population who do not have a primary healthcare center and all. For them this campaign will work. Okay, that's the thing. And this campaign will also be beneficial for tribal people. Okay, because the tribal people have recently, I mean like in the state of Odisha, they have started checking the blood samples of people for seeing sickle cell anemia, whether they have or not, like that. Okay, so this is the thing. And they are going to let's say club it with Ayushman Bharat mission, and under this, like Ayushman Bharat ABDM. Okay, so they create this ABHA IDs. Okay, they create ABHA IDs. ABHA stands for Ayushman Bharat Health Account. So what is Ayushman Bharat Health Account? It is similar to Aadhaar card. For example, we all have Aadhaar card. So this will be a ID card which is similar to Aadhaar card. So every person in India can have an Aadhaar card. Okay, so means like can have an ABHA ID. You need to create an ABHA ID by visiting one of the ministries, national health related thing. Okay, so national so Ministry of Health, Family Welfare, like they have a department under which so like you can visit that website to create your ABHA ID. And in that ABHA ID they provide space also, means like you can upload your health records over there. You can keep your health records in digital format, so that like any patient who goes from one hospital to another hospital, they don't have to carry the physical documents with them. They can directly share their digital health records with the hospitals. If you visit a hospital, they create a unique ID for you. Okay, that they create a unique ID, and they ask if you have a ABHA card, so they are going to link it with the ABHA card. If you visit, let's say like AIMS, so they will create a ID for you in that manner. So it happens. Okay, so they are going to club it with what ABHA ID. Then this is another topic. This topic says for sickle cell patients and elusive disability certificate. Now we need to understand what is sickle cell anemia. Okay, sickle cell anemia. So topic is for sickle cell patients, elusive what? Elusive disability certificate. Okay, now we need to understand. So this topic is important under science and technology. Why? We need to understand about what do we mean by sickle cell anemia. This is important. So basically sickle cell anemia, we know that like human blood has various components in it. Okay, various components. For example, we have red blood cells, we have white blood cells, we have platelets, and we have what? No, hemoglobin is found inside the RBCs. We have platelets, and also there is a liquid medium which is known as plasma. Okay, basically I mean like everything of these sorts, they have a different function altogether. Now we need to understand that sickle cell anemia is associated with red blood cells. Red blood cells carry hemoglobin in the blood. Okay, it carries hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin is important because it carries oxygen, right, to different parts of the body, and it brings back carbon dioxide. Okay, so that helps in the respiration process, that also helps in the, let's say like utilization of energy in our body. So the thing is like when a patient has sickle cell anemia, so the hemoglobin carrying capacity of the red blood cells reduces. Okay, hemoglobin carrying capacity of the red blood cells reduces, and let's say earlier, let's say red blood cells are of this shape, okay, let's say earlier it was of this shape, later on they become of the shape of a sickle. हशिया होता है वी सी, काटने के लिए चीजें, चांद के शेप का कुछ, it is like that, okay. So this is name, this is shape, okay. So earlier, let's say the bloods are of this shape, irregular shape generally, little circular and irregular shape. However, later it becomes like this. Because of change in shape, it has, let's say, lesser capacity of carrying hemoglobin, okay. And this particular disease is not small. I mean, like once a person is affected by sickle cell anemia, so it stays for lifelong. And there are treatments also for this. That treatment needs bone marrow replacement, okay, that needs bone marrow replacement, means like bone marrow therapy happens, which is one of the costliest kind of procedure for any diseases in the world. I mean, if sickle cell anemia happens to a tribal person, so will that person be able to get bone marrow replacement transplant? No, that person is not going to get, because let's say if it costs crores of rupees, so the person will not be having that thing. And this sickle cell anemia generally affects the tribal population at large, okay. So that's the thing. So sickle cell anemia is a kind of disease that's associated with hemoglobin carrying capacity of the blood, shape of the blood reduces, and this stays for lifelong with the person, okay. So that's the thing. There are many causes, however in this article they have not mentioned, and I have also not revised this particular thing for the time being, okay. So that's the thing. I mean, like, it may be related to lesser intake of proper nutrients in diet, right? That can be one reason. Other reason can be, let's say, like it can be transmitted from parents to their children. Hereditary related thing can also be there. So there are many things associated with this. However, treatment is very costly, okay. So in this article they have talked about for sickle cell patients an elusive disability certificate. The thing is, like, government of India, since let's say a person is affected by sickle cell anemia, that disease is going to stay with the person for long period of time. However, that person should receive a disability certificate, okay. But the thing is, like, one of the ministry, I mean, like, so basically the file is rotating between 3 different ministries related to it. One of the ministries, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, then one of the ministries, Ministry of Social Justice, other ministry is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So file is rotating between them, and there is no consensus among themselves that, like, whether they will be giving a permanent disability certificate for people like who are affected by sickle cell anemia or not. As of now, under different laws or conventions, so they have accepted to give the certificate for a period of, with a validity of a period of 1 year. In other case, they have given with a validity of 3 years. However, if you are giving a disability certificate that has a validity of 1 year, but the thing is, this disease is not going away from the person. So that's why the certificate that you are giving, it should be permanent for that person. So in this article, they have talked about this particular thing, that, like, the file is rotating from one ministry to another, okay. So we needed to understand about what is sickle cell anemia. That's an important thing. Now this is, it says, Earth outside its safe operating space for humanity on most key measurements, okay. So this is related to environment and ecology. And in this article they have talked about, like, different parameters. For example, if we want to assess the health of a person, so we check various parameters. Check, like, various parameters, the BP of the person, sugar level of the person, we check the blood of the person, like this. So in this article they have checked different parameters to assess the health of the planet, and they have identified 9 such parameters. And out of those 9 parameters, 6 parameters are out of shape, in the sense in 6 categories we are not performing in the right direction. So we have already we have started over utilizing the earth. So it says earth outside its safe operating space for humanity on most key measures. So what are those 9 measures we need to understand? So 6 of the 9 measures are mentioned in this article itself. Here it says earth's climate is one of the measure, then biodiversity is the other, third land, fourth fresh water, fifth nutrient pollution and noble chemicals, and nutrient pollution and noble chemicals, human-made compounds like microplastics and nuclear waste are all out of whack. So these are the 6 parameters that they have mentioned: climate, biodiversity, land, fresh water, nutrient pollution and noble chemicals. These are the chemicals that people have developed for themselves, for example microplastics. So on these parameters we are out of shape, right? So like earth is working way beyond its carrying capacity, and there are other 3 parameters on which things are, let's say, little bit normal, and these parameters are one of the thing is like acidity of the ocean, health of the air and ozone layer are within the boundaries considered safe. They are considered safe. So that's why, I mean, like in this article they have mentioned these things. So it says like researchers have published a report in one of the, let's say, scientific journal, where they have mentioned these things, that on 6 parameters we are not performing well, on 3 parameters we are relatively performing well, which are acidity of the ocean, health of the air and also ozone layer. And when we talk about health of the air in Indian metro cities, it is the worst. Delhi comes under top 10 cities, polluted let's say cities in the world. That's the thing. So now we have another topic, a special session to discuss Parliament's 75 years journey take-up bills on CEC and press. So there will be a special session of the Parliament on 18th of September. And so during the special session, they are going to discuss about 75 years of journey of the Parliament. So that's the thing. Apart from this, they are going to take up 2 bills. One of the bill, I mean, like, so for these bills only, I have taken this for discussion. One of the bill is known as the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners appointment and condition of service and term of office bill. So this is regarding how the chief election commissioners will be appointed, who will appoint them, what will be the service conditions of the chief election commissioner and other election commissioners, like that. Because why it is important? Because the Election Commission of India is the backbone of the democracy in India. It has the responsibility of conducting free and fair election for the let's say the Union of India and for different states. And the appointment of persons to this key body, the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners, their appointment should happen in an impartial manner, so that the transition of power can happen smoothly and the elections can be conducted in a let's say fair and transparent manner. So that's the thing. But like, recently the government of India has come up with, the central government has come up with one draft thing, where they have talked about that the appointing committee will consist of the Prime Minister of India, will consist of a cabinet minister and also leader of opposition. So in that body there are only 3 people, I mean, like, 2 people from the same party. So this bill has not been passed, but there are concerns related to it. And if we talk about the Election Commission of India, in the Constitution of India, it is mentioned that the government of India should make an act to, they should make an act for the purpose of how people will be appointed, what will be their tenure of service, right? What will be their conditions of service and all. So far, the government of India has not created an act since the independence. We have not created. The government, the central government have been appointing persons, but many a times those persons have served in their best capacity. They have been impartial. We have seen very good election commissioners. For example, T.N. Session, his name is very much known among people. So like that's the thing. However, Now, I mean, recently Supreme Court of India was hearing the matter, and they have said that, like, till the time that you do not create an act, the appointing committee should have 3 people. One person will be the Prime Minister of India, other will be the leader of opposition, and the third person will be Chief Justice of India. And the draft law that they have come up with, so they have removed the Chief Justice of India from here, and they have added what? Cabinet Minister. Yeah, so that's one area of concern. Second area of concern, earlier they said that the Chief Election Commissioner will have, right, the let's say tenure of service, let's say conditions of service similar to a judge of the Supreme Court of India. He can be removed in the same manner as a judge of the Supreme Court of India. That has been the case so far, but in the bill that they have come up with, they said that he will be same as a cabinet secretary to the government of India. So, like, they have not the salary of cabinet secretary and of the judge of the Supreme Court of India are same, salary wise same, but like authority wise, stature wise, the cabinet secretary, I mean, like, they are much below the judges of the Supreme Court of India. That's the thing. So this is the thing. Apart from this, they will also, let's say, like, introduce Advocates Amendment Bill 2023 and Registration of Periodicals Bill 2023. These are the things. Okay, so I mean, like, in this article they have not mentioned much, but earlier there have been many articles related to this particular bill, so that we have discussed earlier, so that's why I have just referred to them. So this is another article that says little succor. Succor means a kind of relief. Okay, kind of relief, kind of, let's say, protection, kind of relief. So it says little succor means little relief. Little relief from what? Little relief from inflation. So in this article they have talked about consumer price inflation. Okay, consumer price inflation, consumer price index. So consumer price index measures the inflation of goods at consumer level, means, like, whether consumers are paying more for this or not. Okay, like that. So it is done for the consumers. That's the thing. Now this is released by National Statistical Office. Okay, NSO. This consumer price index is released by this. In this article they have mentioned about various figures. We don't need to go into those figures. Okay, so that's the thing. So, like, we will directly take a question on this. And this OPEC plus, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. So this is a grouping of those countries that majorly exports, right, crude oil and petroleum to other countries. Okay, so these countries, like, if they reduce the production, so it leads to increase in the price of the fuel. If they increase the production, it leads to decrease in the price of the fuel, like that. So we will take this question. It says, with reference to the consumer price index, consider the following statements. Okay, consumer price index. It says it is released by the Office of the Economic Advisor, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. This is incorrect. Second, it tracks inflation at the producer level and changes in the price level. Not at producer level, it does at consumer level. Okay, that's the thing. Third, in April 2014, the Reserve Bank of India had adopted CPI, Consumer Price Index, as its key measure of inflation. This is right. So how many of the above pairs are right? Only third. I mean, like, only one pair is right. Okay, the third pair is right. So we have included explanation also. National Statistical Office, it releases what? Consumer Price Index. Yeah, and program implementation. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending this session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.